always be prepared, period. There's nothing better than you knowing what you're doing, what you're walking into, having ideas on how to attack a problem, how to make something better, and just be well informed, about what the project is that you're working on, who the people are that are sitting around the table, what their jobs are, where they came from. If you can do that, like I said, you can kind of run circles around the room.
Welcome to the Game of Her Own podcast, a podcast about women who work in sports. I'm your host, Jahaan Blake. After 15 years of working for 3 major league teams, including the Boston Red Sox, Los Angeles Dodgers, and the Chicago Cubs, I discovered the one thing I loved the most was helping women in sports shatter glass ceilings and take their seat at the table. I loved it so much that I made a business out of it. I have the honor of coaching high-performing women in the sports and entertainment industry and supporting them as they go after exactly what they want in their career. So if you are feeling tired of waiting on the sidelines, done being overlooked for promotions, and you're ready to pull ahead of the pack and take your career to the next level, girl, I'm here for it. I also created the Game of Her Own podcast to support you as well. We are here to share the stories of incredible women who work in sports and entertainment. These leaders and trailblazers will inspire you with their success and the lessons they've learned along the way to the top. Ladies, there is nothing like women empowering women. I am so honored you're here.
Everyone has a superpower. And I was surprised to learn that my next guest's superpower is that she doesn't get anxious. If you listen to my past episodes, you know that I suffer from anxiety. If you haven't and you deal with anxiety, or perhaps you manage someone who does, when you're done with this episode, head to episode 46 to listen to my journey of living with anxiety and how not to let it slow you down from having the career you've always dreamed of having. Now, if I did an entire episode on living with anxiety, you can only imagine my reaction to Alexandria Price's superpower. Alexandria is the Director of Operations and Community Affairs for the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation. I loved every minute of our conversation, and you better believe I asked her to talk about how she never suffers from anxiety. We also talk about how Alexandria got over Imposter Syndrome, how she got the salary she wanted, how to get your coworkers to see you as more than just your entry-level position, and what you need to do when you're in a negotiation. All right, friends, let's do this. Alexandria, welcome to the Game of Her Own podcast. We are so excited you're here.
I am very excited to be here. Thank you so very much for thinking of me and having me on.
No one can see you, but we were just talking before we pressed record how fabulous you look. I feel like we should just take a picture anyway and post it because your hair looks so good.
Thank you. If you look good, you feel good, right? And I'm feeling good today. So let's go.
Yes. All right. Take us back in time and tell us when you first fell in love with sports.
Oh, back in time. Okay. I'd say it was when I was a child. I started out playing softball, little league. And so that was the biggest thing. My dad had 3 girls, so he had to figure out how to incorporate sports into our life. He was an avid golfer, but we were not big into that outside of driving the golf cart on the driving range. So he would stick us in softball, but then mom was like, no, they have to dance. And then gymnastics came into play big time in my life. And then as I moved on, I was a competitive cheerleader, competitive and game cheer. And so that kind of just stayed with me throughout my life.
Oh, all right. Softball, no golf, gymnastics.
No golf. Mm-hmm.
Was any of your siblings, your sisters, were they into golf?
No. One is actually a musical theater actress, complete opposite of what I do. And the other one is an educator. So no, none of us got into golf. Unfortunately, I did take a golf class in college. And we actually have a golf course here in New Orleans. It's called Bartholomew Golf Course. It's done by a Black architect. And it's a great country club, and a lot of the Black executives and Black young professionals golf out there. So I keep charging myself that I'm going to get over there and take some lessons. So I think it's in my future, just haven't made the time for it yet.
Okay, if I'm in New Orleans, we're going to that golf course.
Yes, please. And they have a Black-owned restaurant in there. It's awesome.
Fun. All right. So tell us, all right, so you didn't play golf, played softball, sports in your entire, childhood. When did you realize like you want to work in sports?
That was way later. That didn't happen until I was at LSU in undergrad. I was actually a chem pre-med major, trying to go on to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. That was what I had my eyes set on my entire life, actually. And I was in my middle of my junior year of college and happened to get a work study program at the academic center for student athletes and loved working there, loved the staff, loved their dedication to the student athletes, and just kind of wanted to learn more about what they were doing. And my work study was canceled after that one semester. So tried to create an opportunity for myself. I told them, yes, I'm working part-time and I go to school, but is there a way for me to create an avenue for myself as an internship? You don't have to pay me. I just want to work. I want to learn. I want to get the experience. And they were like, "That you want to do that?" I said, "Sure, why not?" And so they kept me around for 3.5 years. I was unpaid. That was back when that was still legal. I was an unpaid student who chose to work at the Academic Center for Student Athletes. And that kind of rolled into working for football operations. And then that's where I really figured out, oh, it's the event side. That is what I want to do. That is where I want to be. And that is where my excitement and I found joy in working in athletics. I liked working on the academic side, but I'm more of a loud people person, and academics is always very calm and quiet. And so that's just not, that was not the type of personality that I had. I had to be a little bit more boisterous and out there and be able to lead folks in the industry and in my field. And so that's where I found that in first learned it in football operations, but kind of along the way, New Orleans, I'm just going to kind of divert real quick, if you don't mind. New Orleans is we're a major sporting event city, right? We're a walking city. So when I was in college, man, I think we had like 3 or 4 all-star weekends. We had at least one men's Final Four. We had another women's Final Four. And then by the time I got out of college, we had a Super Bowl. So there were all of these different events that were going on while I was in college. So I took those opportunities just to volunteer, like to see if this is really what I want to do. So I started volunteering at those events and keeping my eyes on who was doing what and who was the busiest person at every event. And then that's how I found out who to speak to. Just kind of keeping my eye on when I was working and who was in charge. So that being a just general volunteer and then my internships in undergrad really got me to understand that sports is where I wanted to be. And LSU actually got the degree track after my junior year. So I actually tacked on a couple of years to college. Most folks wouldn't have done that, but I came out happier than I probably ever could be being a cardiothoracic surgeon. I probably honestly would still be in school at this point.
Yeah, you can't gloss over that. I mean, how did that go down? Like you were going to be, I'm sure you told your family, right? Like, I'm going to be a surgeon. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a doctor. Like, how did that go over when you said, never mind, I want to work in sports?
Well, they weren't happy at all. Mom nor dad was happy because honestly, I was supposed to go to Spelman. That was my eyes were set on Spelman since I was a little girl. And then by the time I got older, I realized that everyone I already knew was going to Spelman and I wanted to meet new people. So I deferred my entrance and went to LSU, fell in love with their campus and stayed. And then after my sophomore year, my dad was like, "Are you going back?" And I said, "No, I'm going to stay here." And so I met a great group of friends and I was excelling in chemistry and biology. And I made it all the way to organic chem to I had about 30 hours left in my degree track. They didn't understand why, because I had worked so hard in math and science my whole life, but they had to understand that I was no longer going to school for what my parents wanted me to do, but I was going to school for what my heart desired now. My heart was no longer in learning chemistry, anatomy, and biology. My heart was now into enriching people's lives through events. And that's kind of how I look at event operations. People go for an experience. And if I can curate that experience and make it that much better, that makes me feel good on the inside. And that's what I was really learning to find out about myself was my whole life, I was really doing what my parents wanted me to do. And it really took going to college and realizing I don't want to be in school for 10, 15 more years. I really want to do what makes me happy. And this is what makes me happy. And, now here I am. So I'm extremely happy. They're happy for me. I was in school a little bit longer. I was a super senior, but who cares? No one knew who I was on campus anyways. So.
Well, that's a good segue. Why don't you tell everybody what you do now and who you do it for?
Yes. So now I'm the Director of Operations and Community Affairs for the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation. They are what most folks know of as a sports commission. We bid on all of the major sporting events for New Orleans and then manage the operations for those events leading up to game day and post event as well.
Okay. So you're the first, in your position, right? This is a brand new position.
Yes. So they've always had a director of operations and a director of community affairs separately. And they have not actually had a director of community affairs in at least 5 years. And out of nowhere, the director of operations decided she was done with the industry. And so they combined the two positions, and we're looking for folks that could best suit and be able to handle both sides of the job because it is a lot. I kind of landed here. So it's been great. I mean, I'm kind of from New Orleans. My family moved here pre-Katrina in 2004, but I never left. I left for a little stint, but I've been here longer than I lived in Chicago, where I was born.
What was that like being in a new position? Because obviously you're coming in and you got to get used to the position, but so do all the people who you're working with and all the people are around, who are around you. And there's new expectations of you. And when I say new expectations, I mean, everyone who's already working at this place is thinking, what's she going to do? How does this going to work? So can you talk about your approach of your first, I don't know, couple months on the job?
Sure. So it's probably much more different for me than anyone else. I actually interned with this organization 10 years ago. This was my graduating internship, if per se. A lot of sports admin students need that final practicum to graduate, and this happened to be my practicum. So for me, it was more of getting this organization, because it's the same people that still work there, right? There's only about 8 to 10 people on staff, getting them to see me as the director who knows what they're doing and not their intern. So that was my hardest hurdle. And being the director of operations, now I'm telling them what needs to be done, especially when it comes to our bowl game, because I managed the entire bowl game. So that was, it wasn't hard for my boss because he completely trusts me. He's been my reference for every job that I have. So I didn't have to worry about him. It was more of the other folks on staff, getting them to understand that I'm organized, I can handle both sides, and maybe run circles around you too. So, and that's kind of, how it's kind of been is, they see that I have the ability to do so much more. So I think I kind of keep everyone on their toes now, more or less, because I catch the holes. Because I've seen so many different things. Everyone that has worked there for minimum 10 years. And my organization has only been around since 1988. They've been there almost as long as that organization has been a thing, especially my president and CEO. He's been there all 30 years. So it's a different dynamic, when you come into some place with people that are working almost half their lives with each other. It's just trying to get them up to date on how things should be and how we can better make our processes more efficient.
Okay, so I love that, right? Because I think a lot of people are probably up against that sort of, I started as an intern, I started as a game day employee, and for some reason it's hard to shake that. You don't want to lose that because it's part of your story and it's part of who you are, but you also want people to see you as now a director or whatever your next move is. What advice would you give them on how to approach it?
Always be prepared, period. There's nothing better than you knowing what you're doing, what you're walking into, having ideas on how to attack a problem, how to make something better, and just be well informed, about what the project is that you're working on, who the people are that are sitting around the table, what their jobs are, where they came from. If you can do that, like I said, you can kind of run circles around the room. If I can speak to, what X person has done, yeah, I totally understand that this is what you all did with this event in 2019, but in 2021, we would like to do X, Y, Z. I just feel that if you can come into a situation knowing as much as you can, no one can tell you wrong because you have the facts, right? And so that's kind of how I roll with things. As long as I'm prepared and I know what's about to go down, then no one can really tell me that I'm wrong. I don't like being wrong. So I try to inform myself and educate myself as much as I can. But when I am wrong, I'm totally open to other ways of doing things. But I do feel that, I've gotten to this point because I know what I am doing. And that is why I've been entrusted to be able to work on these major events, and make big decisions.
I love what you just said, and you were just so confident. What I took from that was you believe in yourself. You know what you're doing. If I ran an organization, I would, like a team, I would like hire you in a minute. Like I wouldn't even think twice about it. Now, some people feel like they're bragging when they say how good they are. Did you ever deal with that? Do you feel like you're bragging when you say that? That just came out of your mouth so easy and like eloquently.
I did deal with, I guess you would call it an imposter syndrome in a sense, kind of like where I don't think I'm good enough. I definitely dealt with that. I think I dealt with that more early on in my career, just because of the trajectory of how quickly I moved. I went from being an intern to being the championships coordinator of the Sun Belt Conference, which I felt like I was qualified to do, but I had no idea what I was doing. Don't get me wrong. I had no idea all the rules and ins and outs of running championships, but I learned. But I really felt that imposter syndrome when I was in charge of the volunteers and being the manager of volunteers for 2016 men's Final Four in Houston, that I was underqualified. But when you have a leadership team, and I think thankfully I had such great leaders with that organization that they empowered me to feel that I have the ability to do that. And so when I saw thousands of people looking to me for answers and understanding that I know what I'm talking about and that I can handle everything, when, other organizations called me to work for them. Oh, we want you to be our first national recruiting director for our corporate office. Oh, we want you to come work for the Houston Astros. Oh, we want you to be in charge of game day. Oh, we want you to manage all of our World Series events. We want you to be in charge of the social committee. We want you to be in charge of the wellness committee. That's when I realized, okay, wait, if they see it in you, it's in you. So stop beating yourself up and not being able to know and understand everything, because I have to keep learning. And so I think my confidence and that knowing that I know what I'm doing just came with continuous education, leadership, and really my superiors supporting me and giving me the leeway and ability to do what needs to be done and not always micromanaging me along the way. Because that ultimately will definitely make you feel like you don't know what you're doing if there's someone always breathing down your neck. I had some great leadership that allowed me to flourish. And that's how I was kind of able to kick that imposter syndrome to be like, oh, I got this. I can do this. And if you tell me different, then you got to really prove to me why it is that you don't feel I should do it this way, or that I should change my thoughts or on how something should go.
Yes. I should stand up and clap. Like, exactly. Like, I love what you just said. Like, if they see it in you, that means it's in you. And like, so you took it up, that like helped you just kind of push imposter syndrome to the side. Like, oh, all right. So you believed in what people were telling you, and you must've read my mind. So I was like, well, what if someone said something bad? So you are like, well, prove it. Show me why. If you think I'm bad, then tell me, show me. Don't just give me a comment. Don't be passive aggressive. Show me.
Yes. And then you're going to deal with all those types of people. So you'll have to manage the passive aggressive people that exist in every workspace, the aggressive people and the people that just don't care, but are there to help your work, but that you have to encourage to push along the process. There's all those types of people. And I think a lot of that stems from me being in Model United Nations in high school. I know that sounds a little crazy, but because in high school, I was required to get a situation and find supporting facts, and then go and argue down another high school student as to why my country is better. I think I've taken that along the way, and I might take it a little too far because my boyfriend says, why do you always have to be right? Why do you always got to argue me down? I'm like, because I have facts. Like, this is what it is. Why should I go right down this way when I can go straight? Well, I'm not going down that way because look at what time it is. This day, cars on the street at this time of day is going to be way too much for me to cross the street that way. Why not go to the stop sign and then make a right? And then I'm with the flow of traffic. Like I have an argument for everything. And all of my friends know that about me. But it's not the type of like where I'm going to be aggressive and argue you down and be mad. Like I'm good to agree to disagree or listen to alternative facts, honestly. I just carry it along through every space, which I should probably like chill in my personal life with it, but it's just fun. Sometimes it's just fun. Maybe I should have been a lawyer. I don't know.
I mean, that could be, your next part. Like, I kind of wish, I can't wait to I think I'm going to cut that little clip out and just give that to my husband and be like, see, not the only one. I got the facts. I'm well informed and this is how we should do it.
Yes, I'm serious.
I'll listen to you only if you're also well informed. Otherwise, we're not having a debate.
It's not. We're going to go this way. This is how it's going to go.
It helps that you had great leadership, right? To kind of lift you up. And I'm not giving them any credit as to like what your success looks like, right? Because that's all you, because they lifted you up and then you just kept going on your own. That's what I hear you saying.
Yes, 100%.
And then I'm hearing you say, or I'm reading that your career superpower is you don't suffer from anxiety. Like you rarely get anxious. And I read that and I was like, that lucky bitch. Like, what? How is that possible? Like, tell us, like, cause I know like, that's my thing. Like I have anxiety about everything, but I'm really good at managing it and dealing with it. And I've allowed it not to get in my way, but talk to us about like, did you ever have it and just beat it down and make it go away? Or is it something you were just born with not having anxiety?
I think I have anxiety in certain situations, but it has to be so extreme that it's actually going to physically affect me in that moment. And it's going to change my life trajectory forever. That's when I get anxious. For instance, I lost my father in 2009. My anxiety, my true senior year of college was through the charts. So trying to manage that's the type of anxiety that I get. Event anxiety, work anxiety. I try not to let those stress me because if I do, I have to go back to see those people the next day. And if I keep building up all this anxiety and stress without releasing it or finding ways to release it, like taking care of my plant babies or going skating or doing yoga, then yes, I will go crazy. But I don't get too anxious because if I'm prepared and I've planned and I have contingency plans and I have all these different things, I've gone by the budget, everything, then there shouldn't be too much anxiety for me. Because if I've done all the steps that need to be done to get me to that point, why would I be anxious and not just trust God that he's going to take care of the rest of the process? And that's just my personal beliefs. I attribute a lot of what happens in my life and how I've done so well to God because, I couldn't do what I do without him. And I think that's why I don't get so anxious because I'm like, well, if I worry, then that means I don't trust him to complete the process for me. So I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm going to go and it's going to be great and it's going to be fine. And so that's kind of how I do it. But when I do have those high anxiety times, I come home and talk to my plants and make sure they're good. I have about like 30 of them. I don't have real kids, but I have like 30 plant babies, maybe 40. I just bought like 4 plants today. Or I'll go skating at the park down the street and people always have like a boom box and I just like skate my problems away, and just enjoy myself.
Yes, I love that. So I'm hearing, okay, anxiety in a moment when it is going to threaten your life or, you know what I mean? Like in that moment, then you feel it. Okay, yes. Good. So you're not worried about, you're not thinking about the future and that's not creating anxiety for you. So
no.
For those who are listening who get anxiety like me, the worst thing to do is like I'm futuristic too. So it's even worse. Like I'm always thinking about the future and that can cause anxiety. You're living in the moment and you're also taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. You're talking to your plant babies and you are going, exercising and just getting out and your faith. Like those are your key things that help you.
100%. And I have to go get a drink. I mean, I live in New Orleans. Like I'm calling my girlfriends, like, hey, can we please go meet for happy hour? Like, I just need to decompress for a little bit. And then we talk for a little bit, but we always try not to dwell on our whole happy hour about work. Because then you'll be anxious all over again, talking about what you're anxious about. So we take a few minutes, we talk about it, and then we talk about life. and just kind of go forward from there, so that we can just hear about our personal lives and what's really important outside of work to kind of keep us happy and keep us going.
Hey, Jahaan here. I hope you're enjoying the interview. I'm sure you are thinking about your own career right now and how you can pull out in front of the pack to take your career to the next level. For 18 years, supporting women in sports has been my favorite part of my career, and I would love to support you. Whether it's joining my free Game of Her Own community or one of my one-on-one coaching programs, I am here for you. Send me a message at jblake@jahaanblake.com or DM me on Instagram at jahaanblake, and let's schedule a time to have a free session. I cannot wait to hear from you. All right, let's get back to why you're here.
All right, so I'm hearing 4 things: preparation, self-care. You raise your hand and ask for help.
Yes.
And your face. Those are 4 great key takeaways for people who do have anxiety and have tried different things. One of those 4, if not more than one, will definitely help people.
Oh, definitely. I mean, everyone's different, but you just kind of got to find what works for you, try certain things out. And if it makes you feel good, then keep going with it. If you feel some type of uneasiness about it, then try something else. There's no right or wrong way.
I love that. Talk to us a little bit about, okay, I'm picturing you were going on the path to be a doctor, then you made a hard pivot and decided to go into sports. And now you're, moving your way up and you're getting all this responsibility thrown your way. How did you deal with like negotiating and asking for what you wanted, like using your voice?
Yes. So I definitely utilize my, what I call personal board of directors, like my good girlfriends that are in this industry. If they're a former boss that is now a reference, I utilize them to kind of help me set me up, like, okay, you have a higher position than me. You've been here before. What do I need to go and asking for? This is where I am. I want to make at least 10,000 more. Is that too high for me to ask for? Am I in the right range? Usually, my personal board of directors, one is a lawyer, and she was adamant. She was like, nope, don't budge. And those 2 words right there, don't budge, is what got me to the salary that I wanted now. She told me, shoot high always. You always shoot high because they're going to lowball you no matter what. So always shoot high with your initial number, ask that you go in for. Because honestly, they might bite and say, yes, we'll take that amount of money, that 95,000, 105,000, whatever it is that you're shooting for. And if they don't, just know what your bottom line is. So if you know that you get to your bottom line and they're still like, no, well then, unfortunately, that's not the job for you. And so when they tried to hit me with lower than my bottom line and I pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, that's why I'm the first director of operations and community affairs, in my position, and the highest paid person to ever come in to their organization. So if I would have backed down, I wouldn't have gotten what I deserved, so that for the most recent job was the biggest thing, to just don't budge on that number. Pick your high, pick your low, and go from there, and don't back down, and have supporting facts as to why you should get that salary. Because if you're going in here asking for X, Y, and Z, and you're only doing 2 things out the year, well, of course they're not going to pay you. But if you can show your value as to how you can bring value, the different ways you can enhance that organization, I mean, they're not going to come back and tell you you're not going to be able to do that unless you're physically trying to implement something that's impossible.
Yes. Okay. Let's back up. Board of directors, your personal board of directors. I love that. So talk a little bit more about that. I hear people say that a lot. I tell people you need it. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but you need your crew. And did you tell people they're on your personal board of directors? Are they just like your good friends and you know who to go to? Like, how do you have this set up?
I don't know if I've ever really like, hey, you're on my personal board of directors, just in case you know. They just happen to, they just have to be mostly Black women that I've met along the way, or minority women that I've met along the way. Just people that I feel are in my circle and that are for me and that want to see me succeed. And I want the same for them. And those are the type of people that you want to keep close. You should at least have 3 I'd say, around you, and at least a couple of them that, have higher positions than you or have some years on you to be able to speak to what you're going through, or at least connect you with someone that can speak to what you're going through. So I found that they kind of mold me. I can call them when I need something and complain. They'll listen. I can shoot them a text. They'll respond. So yeah, I definitely say these are people who are friends of mine, that I've become friends throughout my years in the industry.
Okay, good. I'm so glad you said that, because it's kind of like mentors. People think they have to go ask somebody to officially be their mentor, and they have to ask somebody to be your, personal board of directors. If you ask somebody, they're gonna be like, that sounds like work.
Bring anything else on my plate. Yeah. No.
Yes, that sounds like work. But you do have to have people that you can, I always call it my 5-man rotation, that I'm always calling people because it's just me in this office. So sometimes I need to talk to people. I need to talk it out, need to laugh it out, cry it out, whatever. I need to know who to call. You need to know who to call when you want to talk about salary.
Right.
How to approach it. You're not meant to do it on your own. Going back to, what you do, you got to raise your hand and ask for help.
Yeah, 100%. So many of us lowball ourselves, in contract negotiations and just negotiating salaries. And we can make so much more if we just talk to somebody else. Even my interns, they're like, oh, I interviewed for X position. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me? I know somebody over there. If you don't tell anyone, they're not gonna be able to help you. So if you just kind of keep that open dialogue, even if it's for one friend, she's moved from New Orleans and now she's in Michigan. So I try to check in with her. We try to have a check-in at least once a month, but there may be text message exchange in between there, oh, they're killing me today, or how are things going with you? But just kind of make sure you kind of keep that up. And like you said, keep going, just be able to call somebody, every now and then, even if it's on your ride home, yeah, girl, I'll call you when I get in the car. 15 minutes can just change your day from a Sour Patch Kid to being much more happier with yourself.
Yes, it can. And that's an easy way just to stay connected with people in your network beyond your personal board of directors. It doesn't take much. Text message here or there, or DM, whatever platform you're using, and then a phone call here and there. People like to hear from you. If they can't talk, they won't answer the phone. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like people have forgotten how to call people.
Yeah. And honestly, I battled with the whole mentor thing. I always felt there's no one that wants to mentor me, when I was growing up. But then I was you kind of have mentors. You just happen to work with them. You don't call them that, but they are your mentors. They talk to you, they give you advice. Just because you don't have a label on it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not doing that for you. And so I wish we would kind of, maybe we just need to change how we speak about mentorship. And maybe it's just having your own personal group of influence, a circle of influence around you that can help you along the way. That's, I think, what we kind of need to switch to calling it, from looking for mentors to a circle of influence. It sounds a little bit lighthearted,
Yes. Folks, you heard it here first. That's what we're calling it now. We're changing it.
Yes. Circle of influence moving forward.
I like it. All right. Tell us what it's like leading this team. Especially through COVID, and it must have been intense for you.
Because we work on these major events, we don't really have much going on right now, if I'm being honest. We planned and had a successful college football championship. LSU won. Whoop, whoop, go Tigers. And then after that, we were already planning the 2020 Women's Final Four was going to be here in New Orleans. We pulled the plug 3 weeks before the event. So we were rocking and rolling, ready for thousands of fans to come to the city, when then they pulled the plug and we're just it's not going to happen. Drain all the water out. So I felt pretty deflated, along with my friends that were in Atlanta working on men's Final Four, which is a whole nother beast. We were all just extremely deflated. That's just kind of where we felt we put in so much work, but then we had to remember it wasn't about us. It was about the student athletes. And so the fact that they didn't get that opportunity to have that event, to have those games, just kind of made me feel bad for feeling bad about it not happening. So after that, honestly, my job, we were just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen next. We didn't have anything else in the books. There were no large scale events. So work got very dull for the past year for us. We were very, very slow. We were all working from home just like everyone else. So honestly, I didn't have anything going on. And then leading up to bowl season, we weren't even sure if the bowl games were going to happen. And I think we pulled that out the bag in a couple of weeks with like 2,000 fans in the building at the Superdome. And it was the easiest event I've ever worked in my life, easier than a college championship. And now we're still waiting to start planning for 2022 men's Final Four. The NCAA is still focused on getting things wrapped up from their bubble. So as soon as they turn their eyes to me, I'm going to be like a little puppy sitting there waiting, like, let's go. I was ready yesterday.
Wow. All right. So that's what's next for you. That's what I was going to ask.
So, well, technically we have a bowl game before men's Final Four. We have the RNL Carriers New Orleans Bowl every December. But we have the 2022 men's Final Four, April 2nd and 4th, 2022 in New Orleans.
Ooh, sounds like I need to take a road trip.
Should be interesting.
All right. Are you ready for rapid fire questions?
Yes, I'm ready.
I feel like you'd be ready and not anxious about it at all. I'd be anxious about it totally. Like, wait, what?
Rapid fire. Okay, let's go.
All right. So first thing that comes to mind, 12 questions.
Okay.
What is your favorite sports moment?
Oh, when the lights went out in the Super Bowl in 2013. I was there.
Was that Beyonce?
That was Destiny's Child. The reunion. Yes. And I was actually asleep in one of the NFL on location party rooms.
I'm sorry. You were asleep when the lights went out?
So I watched Beyonce, I watched Destiny's Child, and I don't remember who was after. And I was so tired. So I was in charge of 30 interns. I was an intern, but in charge of 30 interns for our internship. And our boss, the night before the Super Bowl, got us in that DirecTV VIP party where it's only VIPs that go. Like there's no VIP area because everyone is a VIP and you actually have to walk down the red carpet to get in. So he got us in that party, and that happened to be the party where Justin Timberlake came back out after 8 years with the Suit and Tie album and all that. And Jay-Z came out, and it was a whole big shebang. And we partied our little butts off that night. It was a premium open bar, but I still had to wake up and do Super Bowl the next day. And so I think I was working like a 12 to 14 hour day, slept for like 3 or 4 hours and woke back up and made it to the Super Bowl brunch and then game day stuff all day after that. So by the time we got to halftime, I was like, okay, I got to stay up for Destiny's Child. And then I was like, the on location parties, they close after kickoff, right? So I was like, I'm about to sleep on this couch. Wake me up when it's time for Destiny's Child. Well, woke up, Destiny's Child performed. I was like, "Ooh, that was fun." Okay, I'm going back to sleep. And then I woke back up and we were like, let's just leave. Like, it was a boring game. The Ravens had terrible fans. No one, it was just the atmosphere inside was just not it. And so we and my good friend that I'm still friends with, we were walking away. He was an intern with me, and our phones start blowing up. And we're like, what? We're not coming back. We're like, oh my God, they know we left. They're looking for us to do something. We're going to be in trouble. And so we answer, and it's like all of our family members, like, what's going on? What's happening? And we turn around, and the whole area of the Superdome is pitch black. And we're like, oh, we for sure as hell ain't going back now. And went home.
I was like, you want to run? Like, should we walk faster?
I was like, let's go. Like, no, day's done. Internship, see y'all on Monday. Like, I'm out.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm sure that any family that called you was like, I'm so glad you're not there.
Yeah. I was like, Destiny's Child, and I'm out. Peace.
So funny. All right. We're not doing good with rapid fire, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. That was
a good story. Oh, it's me. I do too. I ask too many questions. I don't know. All right. What is something people always get wrong about you?
That I don't get my feelings hurt.
Oh, okay.
People believe that I have such a strong exterior that maybe what they can't say to me or what they do won't affect me. And in reality, it does. I just don't show it on the outside. I wait till I get home to like boo-hoo and be sad and complain. So yeah, I get my feelings hurt too. I'm very strong. I'm a very type A personality, but everyone's feelings get hurt.
Yes. Well said. What is one food you wouldn't want to give up?
Ooh. One food I wouldn't want to give up. I love food. I'd have to say apples, Honeycrisp apples. I love Honeycrisp apples.
All that thinking, I did not think you were going to say a fruit, like apples.
Yeah, I mean, I love salmon too, but I've been vegetarian before. I've been pescatarian before. I haven't done vegan yet, but I need an apple. Like, I love apples. They're really good. Honeycrisp apples.
Honeycrisp apples. Okay. Mm-hmm. Are you a morning or a night person?
Night, 100%.
Favorite holiday?
My birthday.
Oh, that's fun. When's your birthday?
July 23rd. Leo season. Woo-hoo.
There you go. What job would you absolutely be horrible at doing? You all can't see the face she's making. It's amazing.
Horrible? See, that's where my ego comes in. I'm like, I would never be horrible at doing anything. But
that could be your answer.
Yeah, I'm going to say nothing because I feel like I'd be able to do anything if put my mind to it.
All right.
Even a maintenance man.
There you go.
One man.
What product would you seriously stockpile if you found out they weren't going to sell it anymore?
Coconut oil.
What is your favorite? Oh my goodness. You would think I had a drink before this. What is your favorite app?
Planta for my plant babies because it keeps me on track.
I've learned so much about plants. All right. Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram?
Instagram.
Who's your biggest inspiration in life?
My father, 100%.
As a child, what did you wish to become when you grew up?
Cardiothoracic surgeon.
Knew that one. Finish this sentence. The future of women working in sports is?
Now.
Yes. You have completed all 12 questions. Well done.
Woo, yeah.
This has been an absolute pleasure. If someone wanted to get in touch with you, how can they go about doing that?
Yes, you can either email me. My email address is my first initial last name, A Price @GNOSF.org for Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation. It's the first letter of the company of every word. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, Alexandria Price. You can try to find me on Instagram. My page is open, so I'm not hiding anything. 3 underscores, my first name, Alexandria, with 4 A's at the end, because there's a lot of Alexandrias in the world. And you can attempt to find me on Facebook. I don't think I'm searchable, but you can try to find me there.
It's like a game. We will link to all those on the show notes, except for Facebook, because I don't know if we're going to be able to find her, but everything else we'll link to on the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I truly did enjoy this and hopefully gave some valuable gems to the audience listening in.
So what did you think of this episode? Do you know another woman who works or is aspiring to work in sports? Would you do me a favor and share this with them? It would mean so much if together we could support and inspire other women on their journey. And let's stay connected. I love meeting and talking to new people. Follow me on Instagram @Jahaan Blake and join the free Game of Her Own community by visiting jahaanblake.com. I can't wait to meet you.